Any further ado, today's presentation is Crafting a Standout Personal Statement for Law School from Carly Smith from the University of Alabama School of Law. So thank you for being here today, and I'll leave it to you from here.
All right, thank you guys so much for having me today. I'm very happy to talk with all of y'all. I think I probably met some of y'all last semester when I visited UCF for the fair. So that was a really wonderful experience, and I'm happy to be here today. So just to talk a little bit about myself first before I get into Alabama law. My name is Carly Smith. I am an assistant director of admissions here at Alabama Law. I went to undergrad here and graduated in 2020 with a degree in political science, and went directly into law school that same year here at Alabama Law. 2020 was a very strange year to have a 1L experience, but I had an amazing 3 years here. Learned so much about myself and the law and just education in general. And I've been in the admissions office ever since I graduated in 23. So, as we go into today, I am going to talk about the personal statement. I've read many of them, and I've also done a few workshops with students before. So we can definitely talk. We're going to definitely talk in depth about that, but I also do you want to talk about Alabama law and some of its great programs that I like to highlight, and we're also going to open it up for questions, which I find really drives the conversation to the nitty and gritty of the things people really want to know about the law schools that they're considering. So first thing I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about Alabama law, give y'all kind of an overlook. So Alabama law is located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where UA is, and it is located on UA's campus, but it is located on the very edge of campus. So I think there's a really great distinction between the law school and main campus in a way that lets you choose your own adventure type kind of thing. I really loved my experience in undergrad. So when I went into law school, I was also looking for a brand new experience with law school. And so I really got that. I got just totally different experience, with all of our classes being in the same building, and the law school is a much smaller institution than the undergrad main campus, with a little under 400 students total in the building. But I also got to lean on the comforts that I had built during my time in undergrad to the extent that I wanted to during law school, which I think is a great way to find that balance of fun and also focusing on your education and your career. So like whether that was sporting events like football, or I really enjoy like some of the arts programs that they do on main campus. So those, and then also like the rec center and the other accommodations, those are available to us as well. So I really do like the ability to, find your focus and also find community at Alabama Law, which will lead me to say that because we are a smaller law school, we have an amazing environment and community. And I think when you're thinking about law school, that's one thing you should really take into consideration is what kind of environment I want, what kind of culture do I want. And, you might not know that until you visit some law schools, and that's perfectly okay. But just to give you some insight into Alabama's, all law school is going to be a bit competitive, but we do really try to facilitate a very supportive collegiate environment here at Alabama Law, where people are playing to each other's strengths and helping each other out. And I really do think you create not only a network for your career, but a support network as well, through just how our peers and our students and even the staff and faculty really do feel like a family at times. And I think that's partly us being a small school, and just the environment that has continuously been cultivated by our amazing staff, faculty, and of course the upperclassmen as they get to know our new students. Another thing that contributes to that is we have a 7-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So getting to know your professors is a very easy task. at Alabama Law because they want to get to know you. They care very much about this profession and this world, and they care about your place in it and you finding a meaningful place in it. And so that was an amazing experience for me as a student, and then now as someone who works closely with professors through my job, I see from this side of things how deeply they care about getting to know their students. So that student to faculty ratio, I think, really shows an amazing part of the law school, including our staff. Our staff also works very closely with our students, and especially our career services staff. Our career services department is definitely one of my favorite parts of Alabama Law. You get the same career advisor for all 3 years, and they work very closely with you to curate to your experience and what you want to get out of law school. Whether that's helping you choose classes or decide what internships to take or externships or maybe study abroad. We have an amazing semester in DC program that we've seen a lot of success, and we see it grow every year. More and more students are going and spending a semester in DC, and many of them are also going to work in DC afterwards. So there's so many opportunities that they can help facilitate. And then, of course, getting that job at the end of those 3 years is also, a big thing that they're going to be working towards with you every step of the way, no matter how much your goals change or evolve or stay the same, even. They're with you every step of the way and after graduation as well. They are a great resource. We make sure to keep everyone in Alabama Law's family, we keep in contact and make sure that it really does stay. We have alumni in all 50 states, and we like to keep in contact with them, and so they can help out our students as we gain new members to the Alabama Law family. Another thing that you may be interested in are clerkships or fellowships. For clerkships, we regularly rank among the top 10 of federal clerkship placements. So we see a lot of our students go into clerkships. So that's an amazing achievement. And because we've had so many students in the past go into clerkships, it's a great thing that our older students get to help our younger students really, work on what is important to craft those applications and network for those positions. And then, like I said, fellowships, a great tool we have at Alabama Law as well as our Public Interest Institute. We're celebrating 25 years this year. And if you're interested in the public interest side of things, they're a great tool for, job counseling. They do job fairs, help with internships, including grants, and also, getting fellowships or jobs after graduation. They do that. They also man our 3 certificate programs, which include public interest, governmental affairs, and international relations. We can talk more in detail about those later if you guys have questions. But there really is so much support from the staff, faculty, and fellow student body at Alabama Law, and I think that's why we see great numbers like our 94% bar passage rate and our 95% employment rate of graduates. So, there really is a path to success at Alabama Law and a path to, get this amazing education and share it all over the country or all over the world. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say just about Alabama Law in general. We have our standard application requires of course, the application, LSAT or GRE if you are maybe considering that. But mostly we like to prioritize the LSAT, the undergrad GPA, and then resume, at least 1 and up to 4 letters of recommendation, and then of course what we're talking about today is a great transition into the personal statement. So let's talk about the personal statement. I'm first going to talk about Alabama Law specific, what we're specifically looking for, and our prompt. So, we are looking basically to get to know you through your application. We have small classes, like I've mentioned a few times. So our incoming class is about 120 students, and we get a good amount of applications. So and we get some amazing applications that hit the numbers, but we also have to consider, does this person fit into the environment here, into the kind of students we're looking for here? And a great way we get to know you is through that application. But to have your words, that's where the personal statement comes in. That's your words telling us so many things about you and your journey or whatever it may be that's led you here. This is our insight into your mind. And so the personal statement does carry a lot. I think it really is just our way to really get to know you, like I said. So our prompt is not very specific. We want you to write about basically anything, but the things we're looking for to get out of your personal statement are your potential to succeed, how you contribute to the intellectual life at Alabama Law, and then how you'd like to serve the public good with your education, which can look like so many different things because the law encompasses so much of our lives and aspects of society. So they're really, these three things can be seen in so many different narratives or stories or, just the statements people put out. So don't worry too much about, making sure you hit those bullet points. But we just want to be able to, get that out of what you're telling us. And of course, not every personal statement you're right, personal statement prompt or what a law school is looking for is going to be the same. But I think to craft the best one, you really want to make sure you're being yourself. So, if we talk about the technical side of it. It's also a writing sample. It's also a way for us to, see how you can put your thoughts together, listen to instructions. So, making sure you hit those page number counts is, or stay limited to the page number is going to be important. And making sure you're organized. So you're not, mentioning another school in the, addressing another school in the personal statement that you're submitting to Alabama Law or somewhere else. That's just an example. So making sure if you're going into your personal statement, making sure you stay organized and focused, I think is going to be a big part of it. Decide on what you want to talk about and focus on it and make it concise and clear while we're still getting to know you through that. Because as much as I would love to learn the life story of every single personal statement that I read, it's just not plausible, and it doesn't actually get across, the points that we're looking for. So I think focusing your personal statement, and that doesn't mean it has to be like this one event and or something like that. That's not what I mean. Just making sure it kind of has a point that is driven through, whether it's two pages, 2 or 3 pages. Just making sure you have a point that's driven through the entire thing. I don't want to say have a thesis because that's not exactly what it means, but making sure you're staying on track as you go through your personal statement, I think is a really great part, can be a really great thing to making sure your writing stays concise and clear, because again, that's another part of it as well, is your writing skills. So then when you're crafting it, you're thinking about what you want to write about, making sure you also keep in mind what the prompt is looking for. So you kind of, hit those points as you create that concise story that you're telling us. And, talking about making sure it still stays relevant to the study of law is also going to be, a part of it as well. I don't think that's that hard considering the law is, very relevant to a lot of things, but, talking about why you want to go to law school and why you want to be in the legal sphere, I think is an important thing to mention in whatever story or narrative you're crafting to tell us about yourself through that personal statement. And then So let's say now you've written the personal statement. I think the next step is to get a third party's eyes on it. Um, I think, being able to make sure your opening sentences and your transitions to different paragraphs or parts of your personal statement can be a really important part for one, showing your writing skills, but also just making sure it flows very well. And I think having another set of eyes on it just to get a read of it. I think having someone that knows you very well to make sure you're coming across in your personal statement, like, your essence, your personality, what drives you to go to law school is coming across. Whatever your point is coming across in your personal statement. Having another set of eyes on it can be really helpful before submitting it to schools. Because I think getting that, little bit of maybe helpful criticism can really make it the best personal statement for you that represents you. So whether that's, a family member, making sure that, who you are is coming across, or maybe it's a professor or just another peer of your own, have multiple people look at it. Having multiple eyes on it can really make it the best personal statement it can be. And this is kind of something I want to mention myself, but I'm a first gen college and law, so all of this stuff was completely new to me, and I see a lot of students who are in the same boat, and I talk to a lot of them, and they just sometimes feel a little directionless in what they want to do, but that's, I think, having tools like me and academic support at your institutions, going to them is going to be the best way to help that situation, because they're going to tell you that you're not the only one, because you're not, and it's not stupid questions to ask. What should I write about in a personal statement, or is this does this sentence make sense? I know it maybe feels a little like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm trying to apply to law school. I don't have to have someone else look at it. I really do think at the end of the day, it will help you to have just some support and making sure that, like I said, you're really coming across in your points and your self when writing a personal statement. Let's see. Before we go into questions about Alabama law, does anyone have any questions about the personal statement that they really would like me to touch on? And you guys can put questions in the chat. I can see them, so just want to make sure I cover everything about the personal statement. Well, I'll also open the floor to questions about Alabama law, about any of our programs, our application. Like I said, I was a student here myself, so if you have any questions about what it's like being an Alabama law student specifically, or what it's like being a law student in general, I'm also very happy to answer those as well. Well, I'll talk about another thing that I
We do
really
have a
love. Oh,
question in the
I
chat.
do. I see the question. I see a question. Thank you so much. Um, should the personal statement be focused on personal experience or future plans? I think it can be both. I think a lot of our personal experience informs our future plans. But I think if you're if you're thinking, I don't really have future plans, I don't know exactly what I want to do yet, I'm going into law school to kind of figure it out, which I'll be very honest, was the boat I was in myself. And I think going into law school with an open mind of what you want to do is a very great thing, because there's so much to learn and experiences to have in law school, and so many opportunities. But so I would, if you're looking at an or question for personal experience or future plans, I think personal experience is going to be the one where we get to know you the most through your statement. So I would focus on that. But mentioning your possible future plans, and what you see for yourself, and what you're hoping to get out of law school, whichever law school that may be, especially if you're being informed about how that specific law school can get you there, then I think that shows, one, that you care a lot about the place you're applying. You know about it, and it actually is a solid choice for you. And we also get to learn about what you want to do with your education. So, I think my answer to that is both. All right, the next question. Since that was the case for you, what did you focus your personal statement on, if you don't mind sharing? Was it more on life experiences? So I will tell you, I came in to Alabama Law through our 503 program, which is a program for UA students who have a certain GPA, and a lot of other eligibility requirements, that you don't have to take the LSAT. And at this time, this application did not require a personal statement. So Alabama Law ended up being the only law school I applied to because of this program. So I never had to submit a personal statement, though, of course, it was something I considered and thought about and drafted a few times, going into possibly an admissions cycle. But we do require personal statements for all of our applications now. So if I can go back in my mind about what I was going to write my personal statement about, it was basically my life experiences in what led me to one, go to UA in itself, what I learned there about myself and what I want out of a career, and then what I was hoping law school could do for me in the future, which for me was I really didn't know what path I wanted to be on, and I wanted to go and get a JD to really open doors for me in a lot of different areas, and then spend those 3 years figuring out what was right for me. And I did that. So that, that's great. But that is what I personally would have probably focused my personal statement on, which sounds vague. But, it kind of can be vague because what I'm talking about is vague, but when you actually write it, won't be vague because you're writing about your person. Let's see, next question. Would these personal statements be very practical? Can you show imagination and creativity? You absolutely can, but I wouldn't go too overboard with it. Like if you're setting a scene to open up your essay, I think that's great. And then get to more of, talking about yourself and the practical of it. I think it shows, the creativity in your writing, and your ability to kind of, craft that opening. When it might even, come back up in your closing to make your point. If you're trying to make a point through a creative lens, I think that's wonderful, but don't focus too much on it. Definitely don't focus the entire personal statement on an imaginative or creative, situation. I've seen that, and it does make it a little hard to get it fully. If you're telling me, like, just for example, if you're telling me your story and it's framed as, a undecided princess in a tower, that's a great opening for, for the opening paragraph. But then I do want you to talk about, maybe why you feel that way and why law school can get you out of that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Just don't, I wouldn't create too much of a focus on the creative. It's great. It shows your personality, but make sure you also get that practical, telling us about yourself in there as well. That's a little bit more grounded. Alrighty. What is your advice on talking about heavy topics in your personal statement? This is a great one because this is one I see a lot. And, would be I think if some heavy topics are part of your story and is what is driving you to law school, I think you should absolutely talk about it. But also talk about it how you would talk about it to a stranger, or not a stranger, but just someone who maybe isn't a close personal friend. So um, staying heavy, but maybe not going into graphics would be my biggest advice on that, because I do think there is a lot of meaning and in the a lot of times heavy topics are what drives people to law school. And I think it's an important part of your journey. So I would never tell someone to stray away from mentioning it or making it the topic of their personal statement. I just think you also have to have a little bit of sensitivity for your readers as well. So having maybe another pair of eyes on it would probably be a great advice if you are talking about heavy topics, just to make sure that you're keeping that in mind. Okay. Should you focus on a specific career or area in law that you wish to pursue, or make it more generalized? That is definitely up to you. If there is something that is specific, in a career goal or an area of law, absolutely talk about it. Absolutely do, keep that in there. But if you're like me and you have no idea what area of law that you are interested in going into law school, talk about that as well. Talk about how you want to, be more generalized, but also talk about how you want to go to law school to explore. Maybe talk about some areas that you have vague interest in that you'd like to learn more about, but you can absolutely be generalized. I don't think there is a preference between the two, but if you do know something specific, I would mention it. Alrighty, how long are personal statements typically? So that's a great thing to look at and keep organized when you're looking at the different schools you're applying to, because different schools are going to have different prompts and different requirements. For Alabama law specifically, we limit it to 2 to 3 pages, with like at least 12-point font, so 11, 12-point font. It's listed on our application. So that's very readable. I would include, spacing. So it's also readable in that way. Again, the links can vary between schools. Some schools might have a 2-page limit, but ours is 2 to 3 pages. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're doing your applications. Make sure to keep everything organized. Know that some people apply to a handful of schools, and I've seen some people apply to over 12 schools, and that's going to be a different journey for everyone. But if you are applying to multiple schools, make sure you're keeping what they're looking for and the requirements of their application as straight as possible, so you know how to maybe craft your personal statement to the individual school if that's something you're looking to do. All right. Is there a way to know the prompt in advance, or is it given when you apply to a certain law school? So it never hurts to ask. If we can give our prompts out to our, people who are thinking about Alabama law. I don't have it in front of me right now at this moment. I just have those 3 aspects that I know is the language that is in our prompt. But you can absolutely reach out to law schools. The thing is that they could change every year. So, if you're looking at a admission cycle in the past, this is what I usually tell people is this is our prompt as of now. Its wording may change slightly or more in the future, but this is what I would, focus on, gathering your thoughts for crafting a personal statement for right now, because that's, our prompt has been basically the same for the past 2 years, with some of the court cases that have come up, but we did have to tweak some things a little bit, as I'm sure most schools did, going into the new world of admissions. But I imagine ours will stay pretty much in the same vein as, tell us about yourself. And then you want to see those three aspects of your potential to succeed, how you contribute to the intellectual life, and how you serve the public good. That's, we're basically going to always want to be able to get those aspects out of your personal statement. So, yeah, I think it is listed on the application. So, um, I whatever way you can view the application would be a great way to see the personal statement prompt. But you can also reach out to law schools. I'm sure they would be willing to direct you into what they're looking for through their prompt. Any other questions about personal statements? And also, you guys are very welcome to ask any questions about the Alabama law specifically. One thing I really love to talk about is our clinics, and that's actually something I see mentioned a lot in our personal statements and applications, because I think people are drawn to Alabama law for one reason, because of our different programs and our hands-on learning experiences, including journals, moot court, trial ad, and then my favorite is the clinics. We have 7 clinics that are in-house. So they're all located in the law school in our one building. And we also, because we're a smaller law school, we can proudly guarantee everyone a spot in one of our clinics, which is so amazing. And I know people who do it for more than one semester. I did it for more than one semester. I did it the entirety of my 3L year. I have a friend who did it all 4 semesters he was able to, so during second and third year. So clinics are a really great way to get hands-on experience, and we do see a lot of our applicants specifically looking to be a part of our clinics. Like I said, we have 7. We have our children's rights clinic, which is the one I did, and I was working with the same families and children for a year, which was so amazing to get that client relationship work. And I was working with children with disabilities in education and juvenile systems, whether they were in in detention, like incarcerated, or struggling with having accommodations at school. I was right there with them the whole way, and it was such an eye-opening experience. And it's what made me want to work in education. So I think the clinics can do an amazing job for that. But our other clinics are civil, criminal defense, domestic violence, appellate, mediation, and entrepreneurship and nonprofit. Our appellate clinic's our newest one. And recently, the students in that clinic were able to argue in front of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. So, that's an amazing opportunity for law students. So many law students get to graduate law school saying they've done that. So I think that's one thing we see mentioned a lot is our different, programs that are drawing students to Alabama law. So, do research on your schools. If there's something at the school you're applying for that really fits, the kind of experiences you want, then talk about it, because it shows that you have a genuine interest in that school. So I have a few more questions. Are you from Alabama, or did you come from out of state and you applying to law schools outside your home state? I am from Alabama. I'm from northern Alabama, but a lot of my peers were not from Alabama. We have a mix every year of students, coming from out of state, or maybe they were students who came from out of state and came to UA undergrad and then came to law school here, or people who've never been to Alabama before ever, or people who went off somewhere else for undergrad and then came back for law school. So we see all different kinds of people come in to Alabama law. And my advice to applying to law schools outside of your home state is, to talk about, what that school can do for you. And if you're thinking of maybe staying in that state or that area, that's something to mention. Or if you want to bring your education you're receiving from that school back to your home state, that's, another thing you can mention. Or maybe you want the skills and, opportunities at that school, and you want to branch out, and, the school can give you opportunities to go somewhere completely different. There's so many things you can talk about that I think, will stand out to the law school that you're applying to, and just knowing what the school can do for you. So, yeah, I think we love having out of state students. We love when they come here and decide to stay in Alabama and serve Alabama. It's an amazing thing. I have a few friends who did that themselves. But then also seeing people come here from out of state and, spread the education and lessons they learn from Alabama law across the country or even across the nation is also one of our goals as well. I had a good friend of mine who came from Kentucky, loved it here, considered staying here, but ultimately went back home to Kentucky. She's an environmental lawyer, and she wanted to serve that area. So, and that's something that meant a lot to her that she talked about in her personal statement. She's told me that before, that having that focus and being from where she was from was one of the things that drove her to get an education in the law. So that's kind of my spiel about that. And then another question, I've always been interested in how mentorships work. Is it more or less assigned to you when you are accepted? So we have a few mentor programs that you can you automatically get when you come to Alabama Law, and then if you can opt into. You get an alumni mentor, and you get like a current staff or faculty member mentor / advisor. And then you also get a current student mentor. And then I believe through our different student organizations, you can opt in for different mentor things. Like we have the Dorban Society, which is women in law, and I believe they have a mentor program. And then, of course, I think joining student organizations in general is a great way to get guidance and make friends with the upperclassmen, and it can help you mentally in adjusting to law school and kind of figuring out different ways to, go about studying or preparing for class, answering cold calls, preparing for exams. They can give you secrets about certain professors, that kind of thing. Also, I've got plenty of outlines from upperclassmen before that have really helped me and guided me in creating my own as I had to learn how to do that as well. So there's a lot of aspects to law school that are kind of on a learning. You have to kind of learn how to do them for yourself, because the way someone else studies or prepares for an exam or outlines might not be the way that works for you. So having those mentorships and having multiple ones that you can keep in contact with, especially during your first year and on into your time in law school, is a great way to get ideas for what to try that would eventually find something that works great for you. Any other questions? And I talked a little bit about other things besides clinics, and that's like our journals. We have 4 journals. That's another thing you can do after your first year. You can get a little bit of class credit from the journals. Before we have our flagship journal, which is the Alabama Law Review. And then we also have the Review of the Legal Profession, Law and Psychology Review, and Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Review. So, those are a great way. We, really, not all of our students participate in journal, but there is a lot of space for the majority of our students to participate in journals. I was on a journal myself for a year before I left it to focus on some other things I had going on. I really did enjoy my time on the journal. It helped me with the blue book immensely. So if that's something, that you struggle with going into law school is the legal writing, which I will tell you now, I did not expect to struggle with legal writing as much as I did. I'd always been a writer. That's always what I'd focused on in school. And then you get there and they basically teach you a different language of how to write, and that's how it is. But they do such an amazing job. And like I said, I felt like I struggled my first semester, but through help with my professors and my mentors and peers, I did so much better during my second semester, and I wanted to improve myself even more. So the journals was a great aspect for me to do that. And then I didn't do any of our trial ad teams or moot court teams, but I had friends who did. They got to travel all over the country. Just last week, we had one of our moot court teams travel to a nationals competition in San Francisco. Our international moot court team regularly travels to other countries to compete. So there is, an amazing opportunity. But if you're not interested in the competition aspect of it, I did our trial ad class, which is just a class version of it that's a little bit more casual than competing and trying out for the team. And so I really enjoyed that aspect as well. And so I feel like whatever you're looking for, whatever is more comfortable for you, there's a lot of ways to learn and get experience in a way that works for you at Alabama Law. Since we are a smaller school, our opportunities can spread really wide. And so there's really is a lot of things built in that can help you. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know.
And if there aren't any questions, Carly, feel free to share your contact information in the chat so that students
Yeah,
can reach out to you directly if they do have any questions and concerns.
I will do that. Yeah, if you want to talk about anything more privately, more personally on your personal statement, or just your application or what you're looking for in law school in general, please reach out. I'd be very happy to help. Especially if you're interested in Alabama. I would really love to talk to anyone who's on this journey because I know it can be a little overwhelming at times. So there is my email, and then I'm going to put my phone number too, just in case. See, I don't know my own phone number. Alrighty. I really enjoyed talking to you guys today.
Yeah, and thank you so much for coming and sharing your insights with our students. We really appreciate it. I'm getting ready to go ahead and send a post-event survey into the chat. So if you have any feedback, your feedback is greatly appreciated. And if you have any other further questions, you can reach out to us directly at aap@ucf.edu. And if you want to look at other resources that are available to you at UCF, our link tree is posted here. But again, thank you, Carly, for sharing your insights and supporting our students today. We really appreciate it, and I hope everybody has an enjoyable rest of your day, and thank you for coming to our workshop.
Yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your semester. Good luck finishing up. Good luck with finals. Good luck with graduation, if that's the situation you're in. And I hope to see you all succeed in your future endeavors. And please reach out if you need anything. But it's been wonderful. Thank you all so much.
Thank you again. Bye, you all.
Bye.